with our babies through the umbilical cord. Our babies' cells come into us and they might heal different parts of us that need healing. We've found fetal cells in mothers' hearts, in their brains. They come into our brains. They come into sometimes if we have a belly birth and our C-section scars, our baby's cells can be there. It's a really beautiful cellular exchange. So the babies that you've lost are still part of you. And that's really wonderful. And then you become part of your babies too. So your cells go into your babies. And then we find with siblings that baby's cells also go into siblings. So a second-born baby will have some of that first baby's cells in them, and they continue to live in them and in you, which is a beautiful thought for some, or knowing.
Welcome to The Rainbow Connection. This podcast was designed for mothers who are finding their way through life after loss. Whether you're grieving, trying to conceive again, newly pregnant, or holding hope in your heart for what's to come, this space is for you. Each week, you'll hear real and tender stories of love, heartbreak, healing, and the babies who continue to shape us. I'm your host, Kristen Mundy, a mother, doula, and a woman who's walked this path too. May these conversations remind you that you are not alone, that your baby is never forgotten, and that hope and grief can live here together. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to introduce you to The Haven, my signature support program for mothers who are pregnant again after experiencing miscarriage, TFMR, stillbirth, or infant loss. This is not just a course. The Haven is a trauma-informed community program that includes weekly live workshops, expert guest speakers, and ongoing support from me, an experienced doula and fellow loss mom, whenever you need it. You'll also receive one-on-one check-ins, guided journaling prompts, full access to my birth course, Reclaim, and a warm, intimate community of other PAL mothers, a place where you can be real, be held, and be reminded that you are not alone in this. Enrollment inside The Haven is now open, and support is available to walk with you through your entire pregnancy, from the moment you see those 2 pink lines all the way until your baby is tucked safely into your arms. If you've been longing for a place to be safe, be seen, and be supported throughout your pregnancy, then The Haven was made for you. You can learn more at thedoulalife.ca/haven. Inside The Haven, your baby is remembered, your voice is honored, and you are fully supported every step of the way. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Dr. Greer Kirshenbaum, and this is one of those conversations that I have been really, really looking forward to sharing with you. One that I've been really looking forward to just having myself. I am a huge fan of Dr. Greer, and I know that if you aren't familiar with her yet, after listening to today's episode, you are going to become a huge fan of hers as well. Dr. Greer is a neuroscientist. She's one smart lady. She's also a doula and someone who has dedicated her life to understanding how early experiences shape both our babies and us as mothers. And in this episode, we are really speaking to the moms who are parenting after loss, whether they are the ones who are holding their rainbow babies in their arms, or maybe they are parenting an older living child after loss, while also still carrying the grief of the ones who might have come before, or the ones we have said goodbye to. Now, we're talking about what it means to really nurture. What does it mean? We talk about nurturing all the time, but what does that actually mean? How do we stay close? And how do we respond to our babies? And how responding to our babies and wanting to stay close, it isn't just an instinct. It's actually shaping their brains, their nervous system, and their sense of safety in the world, and what all of that actually means. I want to make something clear. This conversation isn't just for lost moms, and it's not even just for moms who are parenting a living child. If you are pregnant, if you are newly postpartum, or if you're just trying to understand how to support your baby in a way that feels aligned and intuitive, and to have the permission to follow those instincts, there is so much in this episode for you here too. Okay, enough from me. Now let's hear from Dr. Greer. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rainbow Connection. I am really excited about today's conversation. I get the opportunity to sit down and pick the brain of someone I really admire, Dr. Greer Kirshenbaum. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Amazing. Well, hi, Dr. Greer. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's so wonderful to be here.
Is it okay if I call you Dr. Greer?
Yeah.
Awesome. So Dr. Greer is a neuroscientist, which is hilarious that I'm sitting across from a neuroscientist. She has her PhD. She is a doula as well, who has dedicated her life to understanding how early experiences shape the brain and our nervous system. You know, what I really love about her work is that she now takes all of that research that she's done and brings it straight to the parents, helping us see and learn that nurturing and that closeness and connection aren't just instincts, it's actually science, right? So today we're going to dig into that science, but through the lens of motherhood after loss. This episode really is for the mamas who have welcomed their baby after loss, the ones who are holding their rainbows in their arms, but still, carrying that grief that's embedded into their hearts and in their lives. But before we jump into that, Dr. Greer, I would really love for you to tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself and how you went from an academic neuroscientist to supporting families in just such a heart-centered way.
Yeah, thank you. I've been reflecting on it a lot. It's sort of like it's around my 10-year anniversary of leaving science and coming into this world. And it's interesting. Now I just feel like it was like the path I was always meant to walk. Having a really deep interest in early life experience and how that shapes us has always been with me. Since I was a baby, I was a very high needs baby. I cried a lot. I slept in 20-minute increments. I was always needed to be held. And my mom did show up in that way to meet all of those needs that I had. Same with my brother. And I always knew that was important. And I always knew that it was sort of like meant for me to explore. So I went full on in science. I was headed towards a medical degree, but then just got really, really into research. Again, I feel like that was the path for me. I did a PhD at University of Toronto, looking at how genetics and experience dance, or kind of an interplay and a dance to form our mental health as we grow up, and mainly that experience in those early years of life, in that critical period that we talk about for humans, that's from 0 to 3 years. And for mothers, it's also in those years as well. And we can talk about that in the context of loss too, as we go today. I was really interested. I continued to do a postdoctorate fellowship at Columbia University, looking at how our early cells, the cells that are sort of created during those early years, how they're integrated into stress circuits, and also how our brain connectivity is shaped both by genetics and experience as we grow. And by the end, it was motherhood that kind of called me out. I was ready to have a baby. All my friends.
I was going to say, I bet that's going to come in this story at some point. And usually that's the big pivot, right?
Completely. And I was like focused on that dream. I wanted my own lab. And very quickly saw there was no path there for me to be a nurturing mother and do that. There could have been, maybe, if I really still wanted it, because I think we can make things happen, even if the system doesn't say yes. But I was really called out of it. I mean, I was very passionate about translating research throughout the whole time I was in academia as well. I was like, there's way too much knowledge here that the public doesn't know. And how can we uniquely bring that out. So I didn't quite know exactly what that was going to look like. But yeah, near the end of my postdoc, I was like ready to have a baby. My friends were all having babies, and I had gathered and like kind of stashed away like a little squirreled away all of like thousands of research papers on how early life experience shapes us. And I did not see that happening in my community. I saw very, very cruel treatment of
I was going to say
babies.
probably the opposite, right? Especially, as being a doula and being exposed to that world even more so.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
completely. Name calling babies, they're monsters, they're tyrants, there's a little dictator in my house, sleep training, very rigid expectations and punishments and things like this for babies. And I was like, this is not what the science is showing us is helpful. It's actually putting babies at tremendous risk. So that all came together at the right time. And so I left. I left and I trained as a doula and did a lot of work, further study in mother-infant psychotherapy and relational work like that as well. I went to Yale for a little bit. I went to NYU for a little bit in that time to study those more deeply. And yeah, now I've been doing this for about 10 years. And the goal when I left was to write a book and make a documentary. So I wrote my book, The Nurture Revolution. I have another one in the works right now. And the documentary's TBD. Hopefully they'll put that out into the world.
We're manifesting it with you because we need it, right?
We need more awareness. And it's grown tremendously. Everything's grown. I feel like it's exponential growth now, but it's still not the norm to nurture babies and nurture mothers and fathers and families.
We've definitely drifted really far away from even just like our ancestral roots, right? Because we didn't separate like that. Like we see the babies on the back, the babies involved in everything, right? The village, that's another huge part of it is the village. We've kind of lost our villages as well. And I know as a lost mom specifically, the language and just like the cultural shift that you were talking about, just of parents complaining and like being mean and motherhood is such a grind. And, there's so much of that messaging. And as a lost mom who's, had to say goodbye to their baby, who would do anything to have that plight that you would call it. It's just so painful to watch, Yeah, there's so many moms that are probably nodding. Well, I would love to, pick this beautiful brain of yours and talk about that a little bit more. I guess my first question would be, talking about those mothers that are listening who have already experienced loss and are now, on that other side of it. We finally finished that, crossed that finish line. We have our beautiful baby. I'd be really curious to know what actually happens in a woman's brain and her nervous system after losing the baby, but then also after she's, has her Earthside child here. Both of those pieces.
I love having these conversations because I think a lot of people who've had experienced loss kind of know something that I'm about to say, but enjoy having that validated, which is you were a mother. You were already a mother before you had your rainbow baby. That pregnancy that you experienced, and maybe if you did hold your baby, that you were a mother, right? And so that message is not always there for people who have experienced loss. And so if it's for a few weeks, if it's for a few months, if it's, any amount of time, you have become a mother. And I think that we know that when we experience that. And so during pregnancy, our brains already start to shift into becoming mothers. We have tremendous brain changes that get us ready for caregiving. And so, that's an important piece for people to know, right? Your brains massively change. And depending on when the loss happened, there's also a beautiful, cellular exchange that we have with our babies through the umbilical cord. Our babies' cells come into us, and they might heal different parts of us that need healing. We've found fetal cells in mothers' hearts, in their brains. They come into our brains. They come into sometimes our if we've had a belly birth and our C-section scars, our baby's cells can be there. It's a really beautiful cellular exchange. So the babies that you've lost are still part of you, and that's really wonderful. And then you become part of your babies too. So your cells go into your babies, and then we find with siblings that baby's cells also go into siblings. So a second born baby will have some of that first baby's cells in them, and they continue to live in them and in you, which is a beautiful thought for some.
It is a beautiful thought.
Or knowing that they are still here, really, and probably spiritually, for people as well. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing to know, is that your pregnancy, you are a mother. And so whether you have your rainbow baby or not yet, you are a mother, and you are forever changed by that experience.
So what does it mean, like, even though knowing that we are a mother, even though like our baby isn't here, just knowing how like important it is to like act on that, grief is love with nowhere to go, that piece of it, and having this like innate need to mother and your baby not being here and going through trauma, going back to that nervous system thing, like what can we say to that nervous system that's gone through that, instead of just, knowing that we are a mother? What can we actually do to like embed that inside of ourselves?
Yeah. I mean, there's probably so many different ways to approach it. But being able to navigate the grief and be aware that it's here and be able to feel it is really, really important for people. And so if that's available to you like immediately, and sometimes it is, being able to go into that and probably have support through that. There's many support groups that are really helpful. There's therapists. There's finding another person has a similar experience. Like oxytocin is kind of like ubiquitously wonderful for all of our big life transitions. And so having connection while you're experiencing your grief and loss is immensely helpful during that time. Some people get a puppy. And because they can mother their puppy as they're so there is somewhere for love to go as well, like as they're continuing on their journey. I know a lot of people who have really enjoyed that, or another little cute being to care for, and then continuing to like have dialogue with that baby is really helpful for many people as well, right? Like to tell people about the baby as you're comfortable, like in places and relationships where it's comfortable. You don't have to just like move on, right? Like it's okay to like talk about that baby that you sensed or held, and how you're missing them, and how, that's going for you, but also to like talk to the baby as well, right? Like maybe those cells inside are listening, the spirit of the baby is listening. It's really helpful to not run away from that experience, but to be in the experience.
I love that. Yeah, we definitely talk about that a lot. Just like you still can do that act of mothering, right? Even when your baby isn't here. Now, what would you say to the mom who has welcomed her rainbow baby and, loss has like a way of, it is trauma, losing your baby. We're not meant to lose our children. That mama who has trauma in her, who just went through another trauma, being pregnant again after loss, and now has her baby here, and she's kind of struggling with calming that down. Maybe she is on high alert. Maybe her anxiety is really amplified. Maybe, that fear is feeling a little bit louder than her joy. What would you, say to her?
Hmm. A couple things. I think for all mothers, accessing the relationship with your baby, leaning into the relationship with your baby is the medicine in so many ways. It's like the primary medicine. I mentioned oxytocin, like being with your baby in as deep a relationship as you can access is going to be tremendously healing for you and going to be building your baby, growing your baby's brain in the most healthy way. A lot of times when mothers are struggling, like with anxiety, depression, all different types of mental health struggles, a lot of times people want to separate them from the baby and be like, oh, they're having issues, so let's like give her a break and
Too
take the
much.
baby
Yeah.
away and all this kind of stuff. But actually, being with baby while having help is tremendously helpful. So that's the first step. And then the second is like resource yourself. Like please, 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 like, again, saying like mentioning support groups, mentioning having a therapist or coach or trusted friend or loved one who is taking care of your well-being, right? I always like talk about like circles of support that mothers need, and this would be like probably another layer. So like we have the baby in the middle, then we have mother around the baby, and then we need a layer around mom. And so you like, of course, modern society, we're often very lonely and left alone. But we need to call in that layer of support so that we are not wholly responsible. Like we need to be mothered, we need to be held, and we need that loving care. And so trying to recruit people to create that for us or just setting it up for ourselves is integral in that early time. And I always say, like, you will never, ever regret, whether it's spending money, spending time, spending energy, creating that because, there's a limited number of years where you're going through these experiences and they are magnified in the real estate of your brain. Like they are foundational life experiences. So we need help and we need support. And so it's the time to speak up and mobilize for it.
Well, I definitely agree with that. There's mothering the mother, right? We lose that piece, right? It's not just it's not just a new baby, it's a new woman as well, right? And it's another new era that you're stepping into. And even though you've wanted this so much, it's still really hard. It's the biggest transformation you'll ever have. And like there's no other transformation in life that you would go through or walk in that you wouldn't have support, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that piece. I love that piece so much.
And if you haven't had ceremony or ritual around your loss, which many people don't, hopefully your listeners have because they're being supported by you and your podcast and your work, go and find it. Like it's not ever too late to return to that.
And now it's too something that you can involve your whole family in, right? You're now also your rainbow. One thing I always talk, and I'm going to use quotes here for anyone that's not watching, but if there ever was a time in your life to be selfish, it's 100% the time that you are either going through loss or are welcoming, your baby born after loss, because it isn't actually selfish at all. It's actually taking care of. It'll extend to everybody in your life by taking care of yourself.
And so many generations after you.
Okay, so I have a question that I feel a lot of us are afraid to ask, us lost mamas. There's something that I hear so often in my community and with my clients, and even me, I struggled with this, and almost like we have shame around this. But if we are anxious, if we are grieving, if we are finding ourselves, kind of more on edge, is that harming our babies?
I think, we can be really honest with our babies about our emotional experience with whatever it is. And if that honesty and safety is there, No, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And even if our baby is like 2 weeks old and we're feeling grief and we're feeling emotions, it's never too early to say to our baby, Mommy's having really big feelings right now. I'm having
Mm-hmm.
really, really big feelings. I'm going to have a cry. I'm going to take care of myself. Um, and you do that, and you're modeling beautiful emotional expression. You're modeling taking care,
Mm-hmm.
and your babies will learn that, right? What we don't want to do is make them feel responsible for our
Mm-hmm.
feelings, right? Like that's something to learn around it, right? To not say like, "Oh, you dropped your thing. Now you're making me you're making me sad," right? And
Mm-hmm. I
conscious
really hope people aren't saying that.
parenting, people are probably not saying that, but a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Like that could have been their modeling that
Mm-hmm.
they're saying
Totally.
too. But um there's there is a way of absolutely experiencing everything that you're experiencing without suppressing. Um, and you're teaching your baby something very important too.
Mhm. I know we have that conversation a lot because, especially as your child gets older and they notice more. I mean, your child is always looking at you. You are their mirror, right, for
Mhm.
how they exist in this world. And now my daughter is like, she's 2 and she's so observant and she notices when mommy looks sad or mommy looks happy. She just notices way more and it can verbalize it now. And now we have those conversations where it's like, mommy's crying, but it's okay to cry. This is what's happening. And we do talk a lot about her big sister and integrating that as well.
Yeah, and it's
Now,
okay to say that to them, like, "I'm missing your sister right now."
because that is their reality, right? That is going to be the reality for your whole and their whole life. So it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Hide this huge piece away of who you are fundamentally from your child? I mean,
Yeah,
they're gonna know something's there, right?
and they absolutely know
Mhm, mhm,
there's no benefit to hiding anything. They know.
mhm. Now, just being a mom, we mess up a lot. We lose our temper, we might do the wrong thing,
Mhm.
we might show up the wrong way. What would repairing that look like?
Yeah, this happened just so everyone knows, this happens to me too. This happens to every
Mhm,
single mother on the planet, especially in our modern setups, right?
mhm,
Maybe our ancestors with much more support didn't
mhm,
snap quite as much. Um, but I also really see it as a learning experience too. It's also really teaching our children how to be in relationships, how
mhm,
to have ruptures and repairs in relationships, and how to be a flawed human that we all are.
mhm,
I mean, not even
mhm.
flawed. I don't even think that's the right word.
Imperfect,
Emotional or
right?
imperfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because perfect does not exist.
Mhm,
So yeah, if you do snap, if you do say, "Oh, you made me sad,"
mhm.
whatever it
You
is,
dropped your soother.
whatever it is, if you snap, you're like, "Oh, stop," whatever it is.
Mhm,
You just catch yourself
mhm,
as fast as you can, and that sometimes is immediate, sometimes it takes more time, and explain exactly what happened. Like, just drop the ego. There is no ego in any of this. You are imperfect. That's the truth, just as everyone else is.
mhm,
And you just need to just repair. And you say, "Oh my goodness, I just snapped at you. I am so sorry. That is not how I want to speak with you.
mhm,
I yelled stop, or I grabbed this thing from you, or I threw something. Um, I was feeling angry, I was feeling frustrated, I was feeling overwhelmed, and it's my job to take care of my feelings. And that was not right. Next time, I'm going to take some breaths, I'm going to take a little break, and I'm going to
mhm,
do better next time and really make that
mhm.
effort
I love that. That
to do
that
so.
feels so like even just you saying that feels so healing to me. And being able to like be a mom and actually step into that role and model that for your child is I feel would also be really healing because I know
Yes.
that I never saw repair growing up. I know my husband never saw repair. It was in another room
Mhm.
behind a closed door. Um, and now we get that opportunity to like do something different. And that in itself just feels so healing, right? Yeah.
Yes.
We aren't
Yes.
perfect, it's true, and we're never gonna be calm 24/7 I guess our babies just really
It's
want,
not
what
even
I'm
the
hearing is they
goal.
just need to be connected, right?
It's not the goal, and it
Mhm.
it really allows it models for them, hopefully hundreds of times, because you're going to do this hundreds and maybe
Totally.
thousands of times.
Mhm.
Um, it models for them that there can be disagreement, conflict, and imperfections in relationships, and a simple repair can
Mhm.
fix anything, right? Like, so
Mhm.
many of us were taught, like, you get into a fight, relationship's over, or it's
Mhm.
maybe not over, but it's
Like
wounded,
damaged. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And there's no coming back. And actually coming back is so easy.
Mhm. It's
And
so
it's
simple.
there's no
And it
shame
probably
in
gets
having
easier the
reflect.
more you do it, right? Like, the
So
more you're able to say, "Wow, I screwed up. Like, I'm really gonna try harder next time. This is
yep.
what I'm gonna do." Like, that would just feel so healing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. My
Alright, I
son
wanna
my son remembers a repair like this blowout we had. He must have been, it was the second house did a couple somewhere. It was the second one, so he was 4, so it wasn't in the under 3 stage, but he still brings it, where I'm like, "People, we have disagreements sometimes," and he's like,
Mhm.
"'Cause remember when you didn't wanna give me a snack that time?" It was
"Mom,
like
remember that time?" You're like, "Yes, I remember.
I
You
was
tell
like,
me
"I
all the
remember it
time."
very well." It was a big
Wow.
one.
It's amazing
Um,
what sticks, right?
yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
amazing what sticks, but also I'm sure you repaired, and that probably sticks just as much, right?
absolutely.
I hope you're enjoying this episode. While we take a quick break, I want to speak to the moms listening who are in a very specific, very layered season. If you are parenting a living child after pregnancy or infant loss, whether you recently welcomed your rainbow baby or you are raising a child while grieving another baby, and realizing that this chapter feels a little more complex than you expected, well, I created something with you in mind. Because parenting after loss is not one story. It can look like holding your earthside child while missing the one who isn't here. It can look like loving your baby deeply while navigating fresh grief. It can look like gratitude and heartbreak living side by side. And that can feel incredibly isolating. And that's exactly why I created The Nest. The Nest is a supportive, ongoing community space for mothers raising a living child after pregnancy or infant loss. It's a space where you don't have to explain the coexistence of joy and grief, where identity shifts, relationship strains, nervous system overwhelm, and the very real postpartum experience are spoken about honestly, not minimized. Inside, you'll find trauma-informed postpartum doula support, 2 virtual community calls each month, and most importantly, a village of women who understand this season without you having to translate it. If you've been looking for your village in your Earth Mama era, whether that season feels joyful, heavy, or somewhere in between, you can learn more at thedoulalife.ca/nest. And if you do decide to join us, please use promo code NEST1 to get your first month free. Okay, now let's get back to the episode. All right, I really want to talk about nighttime. I know that you love
Mhm.
talking about nighttime. You love talking about sleep. I know, just on a personal level, when I did welcome my rainbow baby here, nighttime was a hard time. And it's not just with me. I know that with the majority of my clients, nighttime can feel really terrifying.
Yeah.
I think once you become a lost mom, you also expose yourself to this other world of like all the possibilities that can happen and that tragedy can happen,
Yep.
right? Like
Yeah.
you can be that 1%. And at nighttime, there's this heightened fear. Maybe like we are exhausted from the day, we're not sleeping right. Like there's so many things that also contribute to it.
Mhm.
But fear is definitely something that's happening at nighttime with lost moms. Like
Yeah.
what? Like why does nighttime feel, or separation, why does that feel so amplified after losing your baby? Like why are
Mhm.
we constantly feeling the need to check our baby's
Yeah.
breathing, stuff like that?
For sure. There's definitely just a heightened threat detection going
Mhm.
on, right? And yeah, especially in the early months, like, we're all aware of SIDS, we're all aware of safe sleep,
Mhm.
and really trying to protect. I remember with my husband, I would always be like, "Can you just go make sure he's breathing. Just
Like,
go make sure he's alive.
he's probably like, what? Because
Yeah,
it's
like,
so, I
just
feel like it's
need
so
to,
different for
you just like, you're
our
closer.
partners.
Can you just go check?
Mhm.
So it's absolutely there for all moms, and definitely sounds like heightened in loss, in people who have experienced loss. Our brains are wired to protect our babies.
Mhm.
Super, super wired to protect our babies. And so sometimes having some of that, like, self-talk about it can be really soothing too, to be like,
Yeah.
of course I'm worried about that. Like, of course, this totally makes sense. And like, this isn't going to last forever. And I'm here to be my baby's protector. And so,
What an honor, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that one of the reasons why we can get even more caught up in like this spiral and this fear is because we hear such conflicting advice. Like we have this like talk about spoiling your baby, and you're like, what? I've waited so long to have this baby, and now
Yeah.
you're going to tell me that I can't hold them or sleep
Yeah.
with them or spoil them. Like, what is that about as well? Like, what can you say
Yeah.
about navigating like all that noise?
Completely. It's funny. I find a huge group of the people who come to see me and my team for sleep help often are people who have been waiting for their babies for a really long time. So this, like, nurturing approach, like, it really resonates, right? People who have their babies older, they're like, what is this? Don't put your baby down. What is this? Like, leaving my baby to cry. Like, what are you talking about? I've been waiting 45 years for this baby. Like,
Totally.
it's not happening. And same with loss, right? This baby is so precious and we want to be there. And so we just honestly lean in. Like, I say spoil your baby. My podcast is called Spoil Your Baby. My next book is going to be called Spoil Your Baby.
Love it.
Because when we spoil our babies, when we lean into that intuition of keeping them close, keeping them protected, high affection, we are growing health for them and us. Absolutely are. And so, of course, your brain is wired to be highly responsive to any kind of cry or distress from your baby. Your body, you get adrenaline shot down your, still happens to me. If my son falls down, I get like, a jolt through my legs, right? Activating you to go get them. You are wired to be highly responsive. You are not wired to be separated from your baby or to leave your baby to cry for any amount of time. And so when you just listen to your biology, when you listen to that intuition you have, it's tremendously healing for everyone. And so just ignore it. Unfollow the accounts that are telling you to separate. Gently tell your friends and family,
shut up.
This is my way and I'm really happy with it. And this is, and I know that it's, I wish you'd love it too, but I don't need you to love it. But this is what I love. And this is how I'm doing it.
Yeah. Tell me more about the healing components. Like, what does that actually do to the brain? Like response or like responding to your child? Like what long-term outcomes, short-term and long-term outcomes do you see?
Yeah. So 0 to 3 for babies is a critical period for their mental health development.
Okay.
And early motherhood, it's also a critical period for our own mental health development. So it's fun. It's really beautiful. In my book, I have like a mirror image of a mother's brain and a baby's brain. Same for fathers and other parents too, but I'll talk about mothers. And so many of the parts of our own brains and our stress system and emotional system that were formed in our infancies, they become we say neuroplastic again. They become highly able to rewire when we become mothers as well. And so our babies kind of growing their mental health for the first time. And us as mothers, we're getting unique access to completely remodel the foundation of our mental health in motherhood. And so when we're close, when we can sense each other, when we're in that bubble of like sensory interaction, when our baby can hear us breathe and we can hear our baby breathe, when we're touching skin, hearing, seeing, smelling each other, it is highly enriching for both of our brains to grow mental health. So we're releasing oxytocin as the first molecule. We're releasing dopamine. We're releasing endorphins. And all of these kind of nurturing hormones are released in our brain. They're kind of bathing our brain towards growing greater health capacity. And then the opposite is happening. If we are listening to the don't spoil your baby messaging, we're actually further stressing the maternal brain. Without the presence of the baby, the maternal brain is highly stressed. The baby itself is the anti-anxiety kind of, that's not a pill, but it's the anti-anxiety remedy for the mother. Without the baby in separation, your amygdala, which is your fear center, is like fire, fire, fire. Like, where's my baby? Where are they protected? What's happening? The presence of the baby itself releases oxytocin that binds directly to that fear center.
It's so amazing how we're just like designed to take care of each other. Do you know what I mean? I always find it like so hard because like life be lifing. Just recently, my podcast has switched to mostly American listeners, which is very cool. But I know so many women are going to listen to this and be like, yeah, but my life like isn't set up this way. Like I have to work 9 to 5 to afford to live. I have to put my kid in daycare. I have to sleep train because I need to show up for work tomorrow. Like, what would you say to that? I know it's like part of this is just like such a huge thing, right? Going back to the villages part, and this could probably be a podcast episode in itself. But what would you say to that woman listening?
I mean, I really challenge the idea that you have to sleep train because you're going back to work. It's not true. I work with so many mothers in that position. And it's really something we're sold in society. I mean, really, we're the best off if we do get parental leave and we do get to be more flexible and we do, have so many more freedoms. But it is completely possible to support your baby's sleep and also be back to work. And so, we have really good studies showing that actually mothers who are sleeping close to their babies, which would be the baby in a crib right up next to your bed, or if you meet safety standards, a bed sharing setup, those mothers have more sleep and better quality sleep than mothers where their baby's in another room.
Well, I was going to say, like, when my daughter doesn't sleep close by, I'm like waiting for the monitor to go off.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like when she's right beside me, when she's, not kicking me, we sleep quite well.
Yes. Yeah. So that's not going to be true for every single human because we have so much variability, but on average, like that is the case, right? And so mothers we're sold a lot of lies, but it's too hard for you. You couldn't possibly do it. Like, no way you can go back to work and be responsive at night. Like, don't even try. You can't do it. Like, it's BS. Many people can, right? It's not, again, like nothing is for everybody, but don't listen to that. Give it a good try, get the right support because, a lot of the work I do in the sleep realm, which is a lot, is actually really undoing a lot of the things that mess up sleep for people. So people are generally not approaching sleep with their babies in an optimized way. So there's a lot of obstacles in the way for babies to fall asleep and sleep well. When we remove those, a lot of the challenges are relieved. When we relieve mother's sleep, and give her the best chance for sleep, even more barriers are removed, right? So like we are operating under systems that don't support it, but we're also operating under some rules about made up rules for babies and mothers that don't support it either. So I would say that for anyone who is curious, if anyone who is not wanting to sleep train, Even the gentle sleep training is not, I would not say is, would not recommend. There is another way. And so I always say, why not try the responsive way and see if it works for
Mhm.
you? And then you have other choices.
Mhm. I love that. Yeah. I'm curious. I have this question here that I wanted to ask you. What would build emotional resilience in infancy? Is that just the responding? Is that the
Mhm.
emotional closeness?
It's a yes. And, I think it's the emotional relationship more than anything else.
Mhm.
Um, you can bed share, breastfeed, baby wear, all the baby Dr. Sears baby bees, they're all fantastic. They all bring mothers and babies together and, grow mental health. But if you
Mhm.
don't have the emotional availability and the what I call a nurtured presence, there can still be pain
Mhm.
for babies and their emotional systems as they grow. And so this does require a big transformation and a big life change for many of us, especially living in, where we live in North America.
Mhm.
But our babies really need present, affectionate, attentive, and protective parents.
Mhm.
And that's kind of I always think of that as kind of like the umbrella. It's like, let's start with that, let's form that, and then everything else can kind of follow
Mhm.
underneath that.
Because even if you do have to work, let's just say that that's your reality, there's still so many opportunities to be that present
Oh, yeah.
caregiver
I'm
when you're
not
with your
worried about
baby.
those babies. I'm not worried about them, right? If they're in
Mhm.
reasonably good care where people are responsive to them, nannies and daycare, and their mother and father have very high quality relationships, that's
Mhm.
wonderful. That's
Mhm.
wonderful, and people should not feel bad about that. There is this myth there, and it's one of the myths in my book where it's like, I've heard this from so many mothers, like, "Okay, well, my baby's gonna go to daycare. I'm gonna go back to work. So, like, how do I stop breastfeeding? How do I stop co-sleeping? How do I,
Mhm.
wean them from
Like,
everything?"
cut the cord pretty much,
Exactly. Like, how
right?
do I just
Yeah.
fully cut the cord if they're going to daycare? I'm like,
Mhm.
opposite,
Mhm.
opposite. They're
Mhm.
going to daycare, more breastfeeding, more cuddles, more sleeping close, more of those beautiful social interactions, present social interactions with our babies. The high quality time is what our babies need more than
I love
anything.
that. I
Mhm.
love that. I feel like that so many women are gonna feel so validated in hearing that, right?
Yes.
Because there is, like, this push where it's like the 2 worlds, right? You need your baby to be independent. No, you need to be there at every, like, beck and call, and you're like, "I can't do either really of those
No, and
things," but
babies are not independent, and going to
Mhm.
daycare or having a nanny doesn't make them independent either. They're just dependent
Mm,
on those people. So
mhm.
they are depending on someone at all times,
Mhm.
right? They're
Mhm.
never going to independence.
Mhm. Let's talk about, raising a child in a home that holds grief. So let's just
Mhm.
say we have, well, or maybe we have an older sibling and then we lost our baby, or we lost our baby and then we've welcomed, an earthside child. I would be really curious, like, what does it do to a child's emotional system to grow up in a home that acknowledges a sibling that has passed, that
Mhm.
acknowledges, like, this is our family.
Yeah.
And it looks really different than maybe the friends that you're going to meet when you go to school.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so important to know that it's really healthy to incorporate the baby that has been lost, or babies,
Mhm.
in our child's life. And our world is very uncomfortable with full ranges of emotions, full ranges
Mhm.
of experiences. And it is the healthiest route. I don't know what else to say, to acknowledge the loss, as we
Mhm.
talked about earlier, to write birthday cards to our brother or sister, to be able to talk to them, to be able to visit them,
Mhm.
to have them as part of our lives. So much healthier than pretending that something didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
or having hidden feelings, right? Our babies and children are going to have losses, grief, sadness, anger, overwhelm. And if we can hold space for all of that, um, that's giving them just a more whole and rich life. Right. And also
Mm-hmm.
knowing, like telling them too, like we had a conversation with my son this morning about like how every family's different.
Mm-hmm. It's
Right.
true.
And that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a good thing.
How can we, avoid projecting maybe some of our anxiety or our grief onto our rainbow baby or
Yeah.
our older child that came before our loss?
Yeah. I think having some self dialogue, self talk, and a lot of self awareness
Mm-hmm.
is really key. I mean, self awareness I teach in all of my programs for all parents. It's the key, one of the keys to having that nurturing presence that our
Mm-hmm.
babies need to have, right? And so when you do have a feeling come up, have some inquiry there. Have a pause. That
Mm-hmm.
takes time to cultivate too, right? This
Totally.
what the I always quote Viktor Frankl, right? Like the space between stimulus and response. Having a space there is the place for our growth and our freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can have a feeling, if something happens and we have a response, if we can just take a space and feel it and say, is this about my loss? Is this about my child in front of me? Is this about something that happened to me? Um, then we get that freedom and growth to like have a response, maybe more than a reaction that could be, you know, more hurtful. Yeah.
I love that. Makes it so much more like we think it's so complex, but it actually is kind of simple. That space, right? Creating that space, that pause. I like that.
Mhm.
I like that analogy.
It's a really yeah, becoming a parent is like just the ultimate like teacher, right? In so
Totally.
many ways, if we're going to be conscious about it, we do have to deprogram
Mhm.
probably the last, whatever, a few decades of our life because we are
Mhm.
raised to ignore our feelings, to not have needs,
Mhm.
to react to everything, to do. And when we become parents, we have to learn to feel our feelings, be aware of our needs and meet them.
Mhm.
We have to be being human beings and not doing. We have to resist doing quite a bit and be a lot more present and being. And this is tremendous. But the good news is we have these rapidly transforming brains. And so
Mhm.
we can accomplish huge amounts of change and transformation and mindset shifts in this time. Like we have that on our
Mhm.
side, which is very, very helpful.
Well, grief also has it's like a double whammy, right? Because I think when you experience profound loss, that's like your first initiation into, wow, there's this like world of feeling that I've never experienced before. And you kind of realize the people around you are just such, I mean, not always. Some people come out of the woodworks and you're like, wow, you really are like an embodied feeling human. But you realize so many people are so uncomfortable with feeling
Yes.
and with going there and with
Yes.
being embodied. And this is like your second, I always say, like, it's another new era. It's like it's your lost era. And then it's like stepping into your motherhood era and your world just kind of explodes, right? You're just a
Completely.
totally new being.
Completely. And it's amazing to me how many people do experience loss and are very quiet about it and not share. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not surprising because no one's comfortable with anything
Totally.
difficult. But I had someone close to me recently experience a loss and she's wonderful. She reached out to everybody she knew. She told
Mm.
them what happened. They kind of mostly knew all of the whole journey, and they all shared with her their loss stories.
Mm.
And she was like, "What the heck? How has everybody I know experienced loss
And
and I
not saying
didn't
anything.
know?"
It's
And I was like,
crazy,
"Listen,
yeah.
you did a great thing by
Mhm.
sharing and having them
Mhm.
support you, but maybe they didn't know that they could have done that." when
Yeah,
they
because
were
it's about safety, right? Like that it's sometimes it's not safe to feel our feelings. And I mean, that's a huge part of our conversation, right? Is like being that emotional safety for our child to explore their feelings and then vice versa, like us being their mirror and allowing ourselves to feel those feelings in front of our child and having that safe place, right? There's that quote, I always go back to this quote, like our shame dies when we tell our stories in safe places, right? Because then you get to get that validation. All right, this brings me to my next. This is a perfect little segue into my next question. I'm wondering, is it possible for a mother to heal her nervous system after trauma?
Yeah, I mean, I would say mothers are in a unique place to do it.
Mhm.
Um, I will often use, and it probably will not feel like that
Mhm.
until you're through it.
Like out of the
Um,
fog,
until
yeah.
you're out, because so I actually taught this today in my professional certification. We use like the metaphor of like caterpillar, chrysalis, emerging butterfly, and then flying butterfly, like to talk about motherhood with mothers. And so your caterpillar form is like your maiden form before you've ever been pregnant. And you're really in this major transformation for at least the first, for at least from pregnancy to age 3 of your baby. But if it's a loss journey, it's from the first pregnancy
Mhm.
until probably until
Wow.
your earthside baby is 3,
Mhm.
right? You're in this transformation. And so physiologically you're there because your brain has changed and is in the process of changing. But then your identity is changing, your goals, your interests, like everything about you has changed. And so we talk about it like being in this state of goo, like you're like the chrysalis inside. The caterpillar breaks down into like a sack of goo. Like
Mm.
there's no like caterpillar that just like sprouts wings out of its body and like is instantly a butterfly. It's a process that transformation is a process of decay. You first have to break down and then you rebuild back into
Mm.
something beautiful. And so motherhood is so much like this transformation where in that transformative period, you might feel like a sack of goo. You might feel like everything's been broken down. You don't really know who you quite are anymore. It's all transforming. You're kind of really driven by these like intuitive kind of signals to like take care of your baby and be protective and all the nurturing things we talked about. Um, but when mothers come out, and sometimes it's like 4 years postpartum, 5 years postpartum, it's not
Mhm.
weeks, like many
No.
people say. Um, and then maybe more, right? If
Mhm.
you've experienced loss, many like 1 or 2 losses or more. Um, but mothers do leave that period very much healed, very much transformed if they are leaning into nurture and if they are leaning into supportive structures during that
Mm.
time. It's just this incredible opportunity to rewire and to heal. And so we have mothers leaving um, my programs and the coaching I do, like this was the deepest work I've ever done. Nothing in my life ever healed me like this much because we're really rewiring the deepest
Mhm.
parts, right? We're really rewiring what happened to us as babies, um, and opening up those emotional pathways and empathetic pathways, and like people just fly after
Mm.
these periods. Like mothers are just, they know their purpose, they know their wounds, they can heal others from these wounds, they can make the world a better
Mhm.
place. They're efficient, they're just, you know, incredible
Mhm.
after
Metamo
a lot.
Metamorphosis, right? We talk about that a lot actually, and it's just like kicking in you while you say this, but I feel too with loss, at least from speaking out of personal experience, like when I welcomed my rainbow baby, I think sometimes when you do lose your first, you're on like this trajectory to get to your baby, right? And sometimes when you're on that trajectory, you don't have the space to like deal with all of this, like this pain,
Yeah.
the grief. Like
Yeah.
that's how I felt. So when I finally got to the finish line and I brought my baby home, I not only was like stepping into this like earth mama role and I have her here and it's so healing and whoa, I'm postpartum again and this is intense. But then also, oh, there's all this shit that I have not dealt with.
Huh?
And like this metamorphosis is like huge, like just like this humongous undertaking. What can you say about that? Do you ever see that with people as well? Just like having to deal with not like, cause you do start questioning your upbringing, but
Yes.
then you're also questioning what has happened before this. And it feels like this whole train of things that are just
Mhm.
waiting for you to,
Completely.
mhm,
Everything comes up because it's all bringing up those questions of like, how was I treated? How was I held? What's my relationship with my emotions? What's my relationship
mhm,
with grief
my
and
mother.
loss and my mother and grieving that? Like
Mhm,
grief is I have a huge part on grief in my mother's program because everything about motherhood is grief. Everything
totally.
is beautiful and everything is sad. Every
Mhm.
single thing.
It's a death and rebirth, right?
Everything.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it's the time. It is the time to just dive in and go there because again, like it's your birthright. It's this opportunity you are given. Um, if you can access it, if it feels, like of course there's many times we can dive in if it's not what happened or whatever,
Mhm.
but if you can do it, it's just
A great
like
time.
a gift. It's a gift.
Mhm.
And it does not feel, it's like a messy gift. It's a hard gift, but it is there for all of us.
I love that. Okay. If you could sit across from a mother holding her rainbow baby, a baby born after loss, who still is feeling scared every day, what would you want her to know?
Mhm. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You have everything. You have everything that you need. You are amazing. Um, yeah, just like reverence. Like, look at you. Look at what you're doing. You are
Mhm.
incredible. You are incredible every minute, every second of the day, just by being you. And you are enough. There's nothing else you need. Um, and I would also say to her, be open to receiving as much love as you possibly can.
Mhm. Especially from that little baby, right?
Mhm.
Our rainbows really are healing.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Greer, this conversation, I needed to hear. I needed to have it. I'm so excited to be able to share it with my audience and those mamas that really need to hear so many of the messages that you shared. It's just so deeply validating, just having so much of that permission and just knowing that the answers are within us. And really, when we come down to it, all our baby needs is us to show
Yes.
up and be present.
And be
And
real.
I love that. I think we could all learn that lesson, right? And learn from that as well.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your gifts and your beautiful brain and everything that you are. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah. I have an Instagram account, Dr. Greer Kirshenbaum, and my website is nurture-neuroscience.com.
Awesome. I'll definitely make sure to include those in the show notes.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Greer. Looking forward to connecting again sometime.
Thanks, Kristen.
If this episode resonated with you, would you mind sharing it with another mother who might need to hear it? Sometimes the smallest act, like sending an episode to a friend or sharing it in your stories, can remind someone they're not alone in their grief or their hope. If you do share, please tag at the Rainbow Connection podcast so we can continue to spread these stories together. Thank you again for tuning in today. And remember, you are never alone. I'll see you in the next episode.